Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dad's Doing It. Tonight, we're going to be talking about current affairs and politics. But before we kick it off, I'm going to go around and introduce it to our other fathers. Go ahead, Larry, kick it off.
What's up, everybody? My name's Larry, owner of Famous Barbershop, father of two.
Hi, my name's Junior Bennett. I work at Famous Barbershop with Larry, and I got three grown kids and four grandboys.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name's Chris. I'm a patron of the barbershop, and looking forward to the conversation.
And Ismael Santiago, father of six and grandfather of one. Junior, I started chuckling a little bit because I noticed you got a little friend there on your lap that just popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah, he don't go, man. He follows me around, man. He's just can't stand him, but I love him. Got another one too, a little smaller, all white Chihuahua.
All right, nice, nice.
I
Yeah,
was just watching on if you don't mind, if I can start it off.
go right ahead.
Unless you have other, we said we're doing current events and politics, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just turned on to, I don't know if it's CNN or whatever you call it over there. And the first week of the war, States has spent $11.3 billion. Billion. First week. And of course, our commander in chief states that the war is done, that we won, and all this stuff that I was reading today. And you probably know or not that recently became independent. I didn't vote. I voted, but I didn't vote for presidency. And I tried to write my own name in, but now they won't let you do it. I don't understand, but they'll let you do it for the city. Our kids are gonna reap the not the benefits, the unbenefits of, man. It's gonna be so tough for us dads and moms. 11.3 billion in 1 week. Gas has risen 56 cents in less than 7 days. And these current events, my grandboy, he's gonna turn 13, my oldest one tomorrow. And when he's going to get gas, when he gets his license, 3 years now, 4 years from now, this world is going to be upside down, man. It's upside down now. Let's not get it wrong. You know, this war, I think, is uncalled for. You know, it's just for the rich. And I do believe that we're going to be going through martial law and then civil war. You can't change my mind on that. Maybe a year and a half from now. And it's just bad for us, for the kids, man. And there's not much we can do as parents. How do we tell our kids that gas is $10 a gallon? We can't take them to school, you know, or the food, or a head of lettuce or cereal is $12 or something. It's going to get that bad. You know, if this war don't end, if it don't end as soon as he says it's going to end, and then it's affecting the rest of the country with the mayors and politicians and city council and Senate and all that. People are now, and I said it today to Larry. We were sitting down talking. I said, Larry, I said, you know, I had this thing a couple of weeks ago that I was going to run for mayor of Leominster. And I says, why not? We got a president that has 34 felonies. What is my background going to be compared to? You know what I mean? And it's sad. It's sad state of mind that we have to look at our president as a felon, as a man who likes to touch little girls or go with Epstein or whatever it is. You usually don't hear all that stuff about a man who he's not coming out. I'll tell you this much. He's not coming out of that office. I can almost guarantee you, if he's already broken the Constitution already several different times, you're not going to get him out of that seat. Why? He's already gone to war and he wasn't supposed to do that. You got to go through Congress. You got to go through the House. You got to go through the Senate. You got to go through a lot of things before you say, okay, let's just bomb people, or let's get the ICE out. You got to go through certain steps, and he's not doing it. So if he's breaking the Constitution, is it sad to say that it's wrong for our kids to even learn it? I mean, come on, they're rewriting it every day because of this dude, and the dude's rewriting it. But our kids, like I said, it's upsetting And it almost makes, and I said it to Larry today too. I was like, nowadays it's like they're not patronizing our kids to go to college as much as they did when I was growing up. Now it's a hands of trade, which is great. I think every child should learn a trade. I really do. Just in case school don't work out or college or whatnot, they'll always have something to fall back on. But
First of all, Junior, quick question. What makes you think they're teaching the kids the Constitution? I'm not saying they don't, but I don't think they do.
it's a part of history, so it is going to come up. They might
Yeah,
not teach it, but they'll teach them certain things about it. Maybe the first, I don't know, I'm not a teacher, so I can't really answer that. But just like Black history, they're going to
well,
mention Martin Luther King, but might not tell the whole story.
I
Malcolm
believe
X.
we have a professor on the call. Chris, do you think that kids still are being taught the Constitution?
Not deeply, no. I agree with Junior on that regard. Like they'll gloss over it.
Yeah.
Right? I do think that schools will gloss over it, but as far as going deep into the curriculum to really teach them about civic engagement and civic responsibility, no. Most Americans have no idea what many of the elements in the Constitution is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it pays to have an illiterate voter base, right? Like it's advantageous to that.
Yep.
And so I, I mean I get the strategy behind it. I don't agree with it, but that's why it's important for us to continue to educate our kids on civic responsibilities and civic duties and understanding voter responsibilities, voter laws, um, because this is not the first instance in our country's history where we're going through something like this, and it surely won't be the last. So we can't just uh, sort of run into retreat mode. We do have to fight. We do have to put up a resistance, and there's always a price and a consequence that's associated with resistance. But this is what we are confronted with now. Um, we have lived through wars, right? We clearly remember what the framing was around the war in Afghanistan and weapons of mass destruction and the billions and billions of dollars that were spent and the lives that were lost, and the freedoms that were lost as a result of that war, the freedoms that many of the people willingly gave away because they sacrificed their freedom for this pseudo security. And I think we're right back into this space where people are willing to give up some of their security for a freedom that may not exist for long for them. Um, I I think I've been on record in many conferences with saying I do not see the president leaving office, at least not willingly. That is something that really frightens me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it frightens me for several reasons because what would we do as a country? Because yeah, then the Constitution is I mean essentially rendered useless at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if we don't teach our kids about it, I think it's easier uh, to take over a people. So it's tough. It's really tough because people are really struggling. People are hurting. Families are hurting. Families are being destroyed. You're watching families be torn apart in front of you. So it's hard out there right now, man. It's really hard. And the beauty of the idea of America remains a beautiful idea, but the implementation is very painful. And I think that's what many people struggle with, the implementation of this idea, uh, because it hasn't really fully come to fruition. But just us being able to have this conversation is a very privileged conversation tonight because you have people who are in other parts of the world who will never be able to do this. They wake up to bombs. We don't, right? And so, how much of that freedom are we willing to relinquish in order for us to continue to be able to do things like this? And again, that is the price that we pay as a people. And Look, I, as a student of history, was never under any kind of illusion that President Trump was going to do right by this country the first term or the second term. And for those who found motivation or inspiration or excitement in his presidency the first go around, while I can rationalize it, there's nothing about his rhetoric. There's nothing about his history of treating people that proved that he was going to do anything that wasn't going to damage lives, that wasn't going to threaten a democracy. Um, and this is the price that people pay. Like, this is the price that people pay because people literally voted against their own interest. Um, they voted, they voted for this. They voted for this. Like, this is the reality. This is what people voted for. So when people are not understanding of history, when they don't take the time, because many families don't have time. They don't have the time to sit down and look these things up. That is a privilege. It's a luxury. But that it gets to Junior's point where schools are not teaching the real history. They're not teaching civic responsibility. They're not teaching about oppression and subjugation. And they're not teaching about the powers of the presidency and bypassing Congress and all of that. These kids grow up to become adults. The adults grow up to hold powerful positions, and then these powerful positions are now leading to a very precarious future. It's crazy.
It's absolutely insane. And now that you said that, Chris, I think every kid that gets a phone nowadays is scrolling through it, and unless they're getting one of them track phones where you just have three numbers, call mom, dad, and police, whatever. Um, and as far as myself, I go through TikTok a lot. I got other apps that I go through, and when I'm looking through TikTok, I've never seen a TikTok that teaches you anything about the Constitution ever. Ever. I've never picked up my phone and had something come back to me and say, "Hey, the Constitution is about this, this, and that." And as the kids are turning back through their phone, and Chris, you're right. They're not going to teach it. They'll tell you about it. They'll tell you the dates. Okay, the Constitution was written in 1776 or whenever it was, independence, whatever it was. I don't know. And it's sad, man. And you're right. It's people are hurting. And if people are hurting, our kids are hurting, man. You know what I mean? My daughter, she's getting married on May 1st. We gotta put up some money. The olden days was the dad pays for the wedding, but again, it's 2026, and my wife and I, we don't have the money to do it. We just don't. We're gonna do what we can, but 20 years ago, could I have done it? Yeah, yeah, no problem. Maybe 25 years ago. And it's just tough. Families are struggling, man. They're just, and I'm struggling. My wife and I, we're struggling big time. You know what I mean? It's not easy. And like I says, I'm watching the news now, and Trump is swearing up and down that prices are going down, but it's spiking all the time,
What is he
right?
saying the price is going down to?
No, they didn't. It was just like at the bottom of the screen. Trump says prices going down, and quotation marks, it says prices are spiking, which we
Yeah,
all know they're spiking. Um,
yeah. And I don't
but
know if
he,
any of you hear anything or catch on to the whole how he pretty much manipulated the stock market to help the price of oil to go down. The price of oil actually ended up dropping about $5, and then it actually spiked back up afterwards because he had stated something that was untrue. And
well,
then
if you don't,
Well, it wasn't
it,
shortly
him.
after,
And unfortunately, in his defense, unfortunately, the comment wasn't made by him. It was a tweet by, I believe,
oh
one of the
yes, you're correct.
one of
Yes,
the
yes,
secretaries,
yep.
and then the price of a barrel of oil went down by $20. And then it came out from the White House that, they never, whatever it was. I think the comment was that the Navy was escorting ships
Yes.
through the strait. And it's like, no, we didn't do that. And then the price went
Mhm.
back up. But that, look, while he didn't do that, I never want to just overwhelmingly make this about a man, one man, because it is about more than Trump. Um, while he is unique in some regards, because I do not believe that there are many human beings who can ascend to the presidency of the United States and do exactly what he's doing and do what he has done and continues to remain as the president of the United States. I do not believe that many of them would get that grace, white or not. Um, there's a certain layer of brazenness that he operates with, and this I don't give a fuck mentality that only he can do, only he can get away with. But it's not just about him. It's about what he represents, and it's about how he enables others to behave in certain ways. I mean, people are literally being lied to in their faces every single day, and they are reasoning away the truth. Just like, well, maybe this, or here's why he said that, or here's why they said this. Like like we don't have to play this game. You know you are being lied to. And so it functions in this cult-like mentality. It's a cult-like mentality where they will follow along blindly, even if they know that what they are following is wrong. But the reality is, in their minds, it's not wrong. Like they are doing the right thing according to their morals, according to their philosophy. And that's the scariest part. That's the scariest part is when you're confronted with someone who doesn't believe that they are doing the wrong thing, and can convince other people that what they are doing is right. And so, you know, Junior was saying how if kids are learning through algorithms these days, right? And I think the algorithm will populate what you look up. And so it has to invite a certain level of curiosity because, if there are students or if there are kids or if there are people who are looking up the Constitution and civic responsibility, then the algorithms will populate that. But if they're not populating that, then you won't get those things. But not you can ask the average student in what year was the US Constitution ratified? What year was it written? How many amendments are there in the US Constitution? I think you might um, just be shocked by the answers that you get. Um, but that is a failure of our education system in a way. But to be honest with you, from my perspective, the system isn't failing. I think the system is doing exactly what it's designed to do. There are schools, there are students who are learning exactly that. They understand the power of a vote. They know how to show up for local elections, not just for national elections. They understand what the amendments of the U.S. Constitution are. Why isn't the same curriculum applied equitably and fairly in other schools? And so that's my problem with it. And that's why I say it's more than just the Trump issue. These issues predated Trump and they will outlive Trump. But the reality is we have to do a better job. And this is where community education needs to resurface. Because if we acknowledge that there's a limitation and there is a weakness, that kids are not learning this, and we have some answers, we have some information, then we do have to do more community engagement work. But there are many organizations that are doing that now. There are many organizations that are teaching street law. Here's how you understand. Here's what it is. Here's how you can use it to your advantage. Here's how you can use your power and your voice and your vote. But that's not applied consistently everywhere.
Well said. So did any of you hear about the and forgive me if I get this wrong, but there was there was a tweet or a message, or it was said during an interview where Trump said something along the lines of talking about the Iran war, and that people are fools if they think that the cost of higher gas prices isn't worth um, the United States doing what they're doing to try to accomplish what the accomplishments are to be from the outcome of the Iran war. Did any of you hear that or see that?
I did. I seen something like that. But to Chris's point, I think it's just him making more of a mockery
Mm-hmm.
out of all of it. You know what I'm saying? And I take like, I mean, I not personally, but as an American, I take insult to that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, yo, these people are so stupid. I could just tell them anything, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's all he has to say. He has the power to do it. He can go to his whole cabinet, which is what, 470 something people, I think. I don't know how much it is. Anyways, he could say to them, do you guys all want to be millionaires for the rest of your life? Or you want to be the richest people in your life? Follow me. And if you don't, I'll replace you with someone that will. And that's just how easy it is. Sometimes I think the people in his cabinet don't want to be there, but they don't want to be fired either. So I mean that's another thing, but it's just man, it's
Yeah, but
it,
we did have to ask the question, how much is your integrity worth?
Mm-hmm.
Like how much is your integrity worth? You're right, Junior. I agree with you. There are a lot of folks who are there. I don't think they all believe that. I don't think they all believe him, but there is a fear factor that's associated with turning against him. And so they stay. Uh, and they
I,
continue to go along. But how much is your integrity worth? Like we should have very, very long memories when it comes to these people. We really should. We should take names and we should remember how they sacrificed the reputation and the integrity and the values of this country because that means something. It should mean something, right? Like Larry's saying, I take offense to that. Like there was a time where saying you are an American meant something and you were proud of that. Now you almost cower when you say I am an American because what does that mean anymore? And what does that mean to the outside world? Because the world doesn't revolve around America. What do other people think about us? How do they see us? Right? And then what country and what world do we want our kids to be raised in? Like this is frightening. It's a very, very frightening thing when I watch people who are making a mockery, to use Larry's words, who are making a mockery of the US government. And it's happening right in front of their faces, and many people stay silent. But again, the silenceness comes with a price. And I think once that debt has to be paid, then we'll see people's true colors. We're not seeing it yet because they don't have to risk anything right now, at least not the ones who are on the front line risking, because there are people who are out there fighting for those values, people who are out there fighting for that integrity, fighting for what it means to be an American because they still believe in the good of that idea. And so they fight, they put their lives and they put their livelihoods on the line, they put their families on the line, they put their communities on the line. And then there are people who stay silent. There may not be people who are too fond of us for having this type of conversation about the president, right? But
Mm-hmm.
again, that's why I say it's more than him. And when the whole event happened with depicting former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes, I took strong offense to that, and I had to publicly say something because of my position, while many others stayed silent. Like we can't see these things happening, and we are so complacent in our positions. We are so complacent in our roles, we're so complacent in our households, we're just like, well, you know what? Don't get involved. Don't say anything. Don't ruffle any feathers. Don't put any eyes on you. It's all gonna go away soon. Like no, no, because that's not what my ancestors struggled, fought, and died for. That's not what they fought for. That's not what they died for. And so how can I do that? How can I do that? But I am watching people do this every single day. But it's very, very important that we not make it about a singular person, um, because that is a power that we shouldn't give him, and we shouldn't give to those who blindly follow him at that. And we know how cults function. We're watching it. We're watching it in real time.
You remember watching the movie Malcolm X
Yeah,
Absolutely.
when the cop said one man shouldn't have all that power?
yeah.
Yep.
And you're right. You're right. But when you have, I think, and I hate saying this, I hate it with all my heart, but Trump is a smart man. He's smart for what he's doing, but he he definitely has a plan. I don't think ICE was just made for immigrants. I think ICE was made for the whole United States from him stating, go ahead, try to mess with me and see what happens. If it's not the immigrants, I'll get the Americans too. You know, I was telling Larry today, the president wants to build a prison in every single state to put the immigrants in. And I'm like, you guys, I can't believe people follow him. I have a question for you guys. Do you guys think that we're the most powerful nation in the world?
I think it's
That depends.
perceived that we're the most powerful nation in the world. I think
Right.
currently, right now, we are not the most powerful nation in the world.
Well, it depends on how you're defining most powerful nation. Um,
I know it goes with military, politics, and all that. Uh, it- all, all in one, even with the military. You know, there's not going to be no foot ground people out in army men out in Iran. They're not putting up one foot down, man. It's all drones. It's all they got people to work there, and yeah, people are gonna be unfortunately be killed, but it's 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 not. It's like I said. I just got to keep saying it's not fair that, and you say it's not one man, and I'm with you. I'm with you, Chris. But Obama was one man and didn't do this. Kennedy, Clinton. You can go back as far as Lincoln. They didn't do and have the power that this man has, and that the United States has given it to him, and he's taken it.
well, there is a
He's
certain level of decorum that was associated with former presidents, right? Where they did understand the separation of powers, and they abided by that decorum. So that's why they didn't have that power. They understood, hey, before we engage in war, we have to go before Congress and get congressional approval. Even George Bush had to do it, during 9/11.
yeah.
Um, Trump has circumvented all of that, and that's why he's uniquely different, because those rules of engagement do not seem to apply to him. And when you have a Supreme Court that almost, concedes to every decision that benefits him, then it becomes incredibly problematic. Uh, but I've been thinking a lot about the war. Many people in this country are going to experience the war because they're just going to follow along with what the mainstream media is saying. They'll look at the algorithms and see what other posts are saying about the war. I have a different perspective because my background is different, and I don't just mean my educational background. Like my stepfather was a Marine. My stepfather was one of the captains at Rikers in the 90s and 2000s. I did research for the Defense Centers of Excellence. I know what it's like to work with veterans who are returning from war-torn countries with missing limbs, with half their heads blown off, and they have to try to reintegrate, like the Wounded Warriors Project. Like I worked on these things. Like I, from a different perspective, have seen the aftermath and the impact of that on people and on families. And so when we all of a sudden engage in war and we are sending people's children to die, it affects me differently. It affects me differently because I have seen some of those children return from war and know that they will never, ever be the same again. It's hard for them to reintegrate after they have seen and after they have done some of the things that they have seen and have done. And so that's the frightening part, is that I can, become engaged in conversations with folks and they'll go, well, we got to do this. We got to go to war because of X, Y, and Z reasons. And I get so incredibly frustrated. And I go, well, send your kids.
Mhm.
Send your kids, because that's what's happening. A lot of these congressmen and women who are blindly supporting would not send their kids and will not send their kids, as if their kids' lives are more important and more worthy than others. And that's the problem. War becomes a conversation that people can have because they haven't been thrown into those situations. But children who are born during times of war and children who have experienced war and children who come from families where they have been ravaged by war have different perspectives on this. They have very different perspectives on this and they understand what that means. The uh, people who say, yeah, we have to do this for the safety and the future of America, I am incredibly concerned. I say doing this is exactly what threatens the very safety and security of America, but they don't know the history that's associated with it. They don't know America's global reputation. They don't know that for the overwhelming majority of America's existence, we have been engaged or directly involved in starting wars globally than any other country in this nation. Any other country in this nation. And we are approaching the 250th anniversary. Right? Like it's a very, very fascinating thing.
And yeah, I mentioned kids, and I and like you, it incredibly disturbs me, man, because I watch a lot of news, and I do read a lot of news, and always there's fake news, and you can't believe it nowadays. This guy is actually talking about a draft to make our kids go into there. So as you turn 18. And I know when my dad told me, he said, Junior, here, when you graduate high school, you're either going to work full time, you're going to go to college, or you're going to the service. I will never say that to my grandkids. I said it to my daughters and my son, but I will never again say join the service.
Yeah,
I
because they're not signing up. They're
right,
not signing
right.
up because they don't believe in this
Yeah.
anymore.
And
And so,
there's no more selective
yeah,
service either.
yeah, they're having
You
trouble
know?
recruiting.
Yeah, and so he says, yeah, there's no, but even the mention of a draft was, I was like, are you shitting me? I know it's impossible, or but you know what? I don't know it's impossible. He might be able to pull it off. I don't know, and that's the whole thing. And I say it all the time at the shop. I say, I just want to know what's going on in that cabinet, and we don't. We have zero idea what's going on because if Trump, I'm a firm believer that his cabinet had Charlie Kirk killed. I'm a firm believer because Charlie Kirk was only 31 and you got to be 35 to be run for president. That means he'd have to wait another term. But I think they got rid of him and his cabinet so Trump's son can jump in there and take over. That's my biggest feeling is, and I can't. Why would someone just go out there and kill that guy? Because of what he says? Yes, he knows his shit. He never went to college. I'm not a fan of his, but I'm just saying about the cabinet with Trump. I got a really big feeling that's what happened. Why would you want Charlie Kirk in the office when Trump's trying to run the whole office for the rest of his life and his family? That's what I really believe happened. I don't believe they still haven't caught. There is not one suspect. Zero. suspects on who killed Charlie Kirk.
Well, they captured someone.
Yeah, but that was that kid. Nah.
Yeah, I mean, look, the whole thing around Kirk, whether there's a conspiracy internally or not, I don't want to subscribe to that. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of his work. I have spoken out against his work. If he had any desires or motivations to potentially run for office, I don't know. I don't think that was ever expressed. What I do know is what we are going through. What I
Yeah.
do know is who's in office now. What I am concerned about is my amending the Constitution to potentially allow the president to seek office for a third term. But I have said on record with folks that I think the the biggest gift that we were given is that he's older. Because if he were younger and doing this, then I do believe that we would be in for um like just the eradication of democracy as we know it in America. Like it just wouldn't exist. But I I have to believe, and I do firmly believe this, that as hard as it is, that those who are fighting for the preservation of these American values that people have fought for and died for, uh, will succeed. Uh, because we've been through this shit before, man. Like that's what it is for me. Like history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does lean on itself a lot. And if history has taught me anything and leaning on itself is that we will survive this shit. But it does take people starting to come together to realize the similarities in circumstance that we are all suffering tremendously. There's an economic, there's a social, there's a political, there's an educational, there's a communal price to pay for all of this. And once people get to the point where they can no longer tolerate and take it, then they start to do differently, which is why you start to see some folks who voted for Trump who are now doing differently, who are now speaking out differently. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take more of that, a whole lot more of it. Um, there's a small part of me that fears civil war, but I think a lot more would need to happen for that to happen in this country. And we are not there yet. I think some of the ingredients have been laid out, but I don't believe that we are nearing that point. Right now, the biggest concern is for me, I'm thinking about the immediate, the biggest concern is how do you get people through the day? Some folks are not even thinking about next week, next year, next month. They're just thinking about surviving the fucking day. And that is hard enough because they don't know how they're going to put food on the table. How are they going to put food on the table because they're being lied to and told that, hey, prices are coming down. Folks can't pay their rent, they can't pay their mortgages, they can't afford childcare. They're scared to send their kids to school because they don't know if their kids are going to be safe in school. They're scared to go out into large public spaces because they don't know if there's going to be any retaliation. We are about to have the biggest event in the world on US soil and internationally as well. But FIFA is coming here in a couple of months. Like, and people won't be able to experience that fully and safely because they're going to be so worried. But this is the price you pay. These are the consequences when people didn't really understand. I, you know, you remember the Central Park Five? Y'all remember
Yes.
Central Park Five, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
The one of those guys, he's a friend of mine. We met at a conference many years ago, and we stayed in touch. And I remember he spoke. He was the keynote, and I spoke at one of the breakouts. And uh, I had asked him, man, like, how are you? And this was around first Trump presidency at this conference. And he said, every day it hurts. Every day it hurts all over again because I remember the president, and I remember this because I was in New York at the time where he took out a full page ad in multiple newspapers calling for the death penalty of these five young men. And he still doubled down on it, even when he was running. And I remember talking to him, and he was just saying, like, this is what it's come to in this country, because this was no secret. It's no surprise how he's always been. And yet many people were convinced and hopeful that it would have been different. Um, and again, in a democracy, people can vote for whoever they want to vote for. That's the beauty of a democracy. Uh, but man, when I tell you that I was not surprised, and I am not surprised by anything, anything that is happening here, because it was all laid out for people. It was all laid out for people, and they still wanted to believe that it would have been better with him in office.
I'm a firm believer that there is going to be martial law first and then civil war. I was telling again, Larry and I speak a lot, man, and I told him today. I was like, probably within a year and a half, and it's hard to worry about what's going on right now when, like you said there, Chris, we have to worry about what we're going to get through tomorrow or today, and in my instinct, I'm thinking about the future for all of our kids and grandkids, and it's nothing nice, man. I know you were history, um, Chris, but we've been through this before, but not like this. Not like this. Back then when we went through the wars, people were for America. And like you says, how often do you say that, oh, I'm an American, Back when I was 10 years old or whenever, you were proud to be an American. And they had that song, Proud to be an American. Now it's like I hear people all the time, every day. I'm moving out of the country. I'm getting out. And I'm like, you really think other countries are better than the one that we have here because they have free healthcare or education? You have to pay for that somehow or another. Um, and I firmly believe that we're going into the point of martial law and civil war, which will it we won't have to worry about sending our kids to college or nothing like that because we'll be in civil war and martial law, and it's scary. It's scary as hell, man. I'm
Yeah, but
scared.
that depends on what we do in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, next couple of months,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and there's still something in saying that I am proud to be an American, because I am.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I do believe in the idea of America.
Hmm.
I believe in what it could be. I believe in um, its transformative nature, because it can be transformative. And that is what we have to get more people to believe in again, because it's easy to be proud to be an American when it's easy to be an American. It's easy when everyone loves you.
Hmm.
It's hard when you are now the global face of ridicule and disdain. And so people shy away from that. I don't want us to shy away from that. I think we have to absorb what comes with it. And what comes with it is both the good and the bad. That it's not always all good. It's not all good now, but we still do believe in this idea where we can be better, where you can achieve, where you can experience these freedoms, where you can raise your kids and your grandkids, with the understanding that they can go outside and play and be safe. Because in other parts of the world, many kids can't do that. But in other parts of the world, many kids also can do that, right? So when we get people to be less tribal, and I think this is where we are right now. Everybody wants to belong to a tribe. And now, as opposed to engaging with community, people are being assigned tribes based on political affiliation. And that's the problem because they're associating more with their political identity than their community identity. Because we all want to fit in. We all want to fit in somewhere, but we are more than political tribes. We are more than political identities. You know, this notion of around Republican or Democrat, I don't give a fuck about either. I honestly do not. I don't care. I care about who's going to do right by people, who's
Uh-huh.
going to do right by the community. And once we drift away the conventional and blue of it all, of are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Are you a conservative? Are you a liberal? Are you
Mhm.
a fucking good human being? And I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you are a
Yeah.
good human being who's making decisions that benefits the lives of others, let's ride. I'm cool with it. And if you're not, then stay the fuck away from me, my family, my community, and my friends. Like
Yeah.
it's just that simple. And
Yeah.
people, they just get so absorbed into these attachments, into these labels and classifications that they can't see beyond themselves. They can't see beyond themselves, and that's the problem. That's why many people are finding it hard to say I'm still proud to be an American because they're going based on that classification. They're going based on that classification. But if we identify again the similarities and the struggles, I'm currently working on the book right now, and I'm into the chapter that's talking about the lies that we tell our kids. I don't want to give too much of the book away, but the chapter is titled the lie of our most precious resource. Like you've ever heard that as a kid, like kids are our future and they're our most precious natural resources. But have you seen what we do to fucking natural resources? We abuse, we neglect, we exploit, we extract, and then we dispose. And that's exactly what the fuck we do to kids. We abuse, we neglect, we extract, we exploit, and then we dispose when they're no longer good to us. And so this lie that these things are valuable to us. Uh, they're only valuable so long as they have value to you. And that's the problem right now. People are no longer proud to say they're an American because it doesn't seem valuable to them to say that. But I counted it as saying, yes, say it and absorb the bad that comes with it because that's what makes us better. We're not going to be better because we run away. We're going to be better because we stay and fight. But many people can't stand that fight because they're like, I don't want to have to fucking put my life on the line, put my family's life on the line. I don't want to die for this shit. But what about the people dying for this shit right now? There are people who are literally dying for this shit right now.
But there's,
It's that
I
simple.
think, I think there's twice as many people that are not. I mean, look at the guy who bought his kid a gun, killed people with 14 years old or 15 years old, bought him an AR-15. The dad's now doing 30 years. So as us as dads, moms, grandmothers, grandfathers, cousins, aunts, whatever you want, et cetera, et cetera. Um, it's hard to do that, Chris. It's hard. It's very hard to. If I were to walk down an aisle on Market Basket and ask everyone, "Are you proud to be an American?" If I ask 10 people, I will probably almost guarantee 8 of them will say no. Right now, right now, I'd say they'd say no because of what's going on in the country. Um, and listening to you, Chris, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And we have to disdain from people saying, "Oh, I want to live in a different country," or "I'm not proud to be an American." Once we change that, maybe we'll change the footwork on how to be a proud American. You can say it all you want. You know what I mean? I can say that I'm rich all I want and be broke as hell. So we need to change that. We need to change people saying, "Oh, I'd rather be here," or blah blah blah. "I'm not going to fight for the country because of this guy." Well, you don't fight for the country, then you're not really an American. You know what I mean? I said that just don't make no sense. I said,
That ain't necessarily true. I'm an
"What?"
American. I never fought for the country. I'm not interested in joining no military, nor was I ever interested in joining no military and fighting for this country.
No, no,
As far
no.
as I'm concerned, this is not even a country; it's a corporation.
Well, I
It
didn't
is
mean
a
fighting as
corporation.
far as fighting. I mean fighting as far as being an American, not as far
Yeah.
as, guns and all that. But if you're going to fight to say that you're an American, yeah, say it. Be proud of it. You know what I mean? But if you're not proud of it, why are you here? Are you just waiting for other people to pick up the slack so you can ride the curtail of the other Americans trying to make this country better? You know what I mean? And there's other people that lay back. "Oh, I don't give a damn what happens, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we're only going to live this long. Oh, I don't care, but let them do what they want." That's fine. That's fine. Just don't be around me, like you said. You know what I mean? We got to fight for things are worth fighting for. And if fighting for America, whether it's political, malicious, whatever you want to call it, okay, fine. You know what I mean? I'll fight as long as I can, but I'm on the outskirts now. I'm leaning out more because no matter what we say, there's always something in the way saying, no, you're wrong. Something. What's going on now is the Epstein files. What the fuck do I care about the Epstein files or America? That means zero to me. Whether they convict people or not is not going to help my mortgage, my bills, my car payment, nothing. But if it's going to make America great again because we have all these presidents fucking little girls, yeah, okay. But nothing's coming out of it. Right now, Trump doesn't rule out putting boots on the ground in Iran. That's murder. That's straight out murder. You're going to put people on foot when a drone can take out a whole building. Right there, right there. And reading that on the TV, how do you fight to be an American, man, when you know they're going to take one of our kids? You know what I mean? And I'm American. Listen, I watch every motherfucking Olympics, USA. I watch it to the death. I root for America, hands down, and I always will. I will never say I'm not an American. But people in here, they just don't. They don't care as much as they used to. They just. They, from what I see, I don't go out doing polls or numbers and nothing like that. From what I see, people are just like, oh man, I'm tired
People
of
are
it.
tired. I don't
Yeah,
think it's that they don't care. The fight looks different for everyone.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you said,
yeah.
some fight by the physical fighting, like they'll join the services. Some are fighting by being teachers. Some are fighting by being barbers. Some are fighting by being community activists. The fight looks different for everyone. But people are tired. Like they're just exhausted and they're overwhelmed, and there's so much that they have to overcome every single day that uh, it they just don't know how to fight an additional fight because they're fighting so many battles already, and I think that's what it is. Um,
And Larry, you're absolutely right, man. I'm a proud American, okay? I'm not picking up a gun. I'm not fighting for this country unless the country fights for me, and like it says it does. And we won't even tell if the country's fighting for us because it's so upside down right now. But I'll be damned if I'm gonna pick up a gun and kill someone I don't even know because
What
our
did
because our
what
president
did
make more money.
what did was it Reggie Jackson that was the runner in the Olympics in Germany?
No, that was
Jesse Owens.
Jesse Owens.
Jesse Owens, yeah.
Jesse Owens, what he say in the Olympics? He said, not even our president like embraced him for winning the gold. He
Mhm.
said Hitler embraced him for winning the gold. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a long layer of disrespect that's been going on. You know what I mean? And to Chris's point earlier, it's been here long before us and the president, and unfortunately, our kids are gonna have to deal with it. Our grandkids are change. Me personally.
Yeah.
It's hard to I get SSDI now because of my diabetes. I've had diabetes, I want to say all my life, so 54 years. Um, and this is what disappoints me about America also. Okay. We got a friend of ours that comes into the barber shop, and he works downtown at Fitchburg in the not the IRS building, but the EBT building, whatever. He works over there, and he said his family walked in there, and they gave them, I think, let's say $700 in food stamps. And he said an Army vet went in there. They gave him $25. $25. Served the country. I think he was in war, whatever Felix was saying. $25. But gives this these other families, and I'm pretty sure. Did he say it was a family that was from out of the country, Larry? I can't remember what Felix said. Can't remember, but it was a family that got
Yeah,
more
but
money.
what I don't know if that was like, was that still when Biden was in office? I know what you're
I don't.
talking about, and I
No, I
know the
don't think so.
situation.
This is like
But
it might have been Larry. It might have
I
been.
think that was when Biden was in office, and they were giving they were letting in all the immigrants and giving them. I think that was Biden's term, right? They were giving them like
Mm-hmm.
$10,000 a month,
Yeah. You're right.
and
You're right.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean. That was around that time.
And that's why it gets Americans so pissed off, And do I believe everyone gets a fair chance to improve their life? Yes. They want to live the
But
American way? Okay. But is it fair that we give money to not our own?
but look, we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. Because like Iz said, he couldn't make the choice of the two evils, right? So you got Biden's administration letting a bunch of immigrants in, giving them 10,000 a month. Um, I used to read, I don't know how true it was, but I used to read articles of some of these immigrants were committing crimes and not getting persecuted because they're not citizens. So the laws don't, I don't know, some stupid loophole. I don't know how true that is. But, and I'm not saying that I'm complaining, but I'm just saying for the sake of the conversation, we complain about that, about the immigrants and what Biden administration is doing and just overlooking our veterans for one. You know what I mean? But then we also bitch and complain about what Trump is doing. So it's like we're never going to be happy with what's going on in politics. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that any of and I said this to a guy, John Deaton, I believe he's going to be running for senator or senate or something in Massachusetts. But I just don't believe that there is any political party that really has our interests at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would
And
agree with that.
I don't know, you know what I'm saying? For some people, they say that that's not a good thing. We need to change that. Uh, I don't know if it's worth changing. To be honest, I'll be like 1,000. I don't know if it's worth changing for what. Every step we make forward, we somehow wind up two steps back. You know what I'm saying? So it's not even, it's like we have the illusion of we're making progress and we're moving forward because we're fixated on that one step forward.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with that. I mean, if we change it and change it to what? We
Yeah, you
can
know what
change
I'm
it
saying?
to, there's always a system that replaces any other system. But for me, I bring it back down to the essence of systems. It's not the system, it's the people. If the
Hmm.
people are still fucked up, you could change the system all you want. You're still gonna have fucked up outcomes. And
Hmm.
so, if we do change it, it has to go back to more community engagement. That's the essence of it. Um, People do have to really understand who they are voting for, what they are voting for. Look, the average American, the average citizen doesn't fully understand the issues that they are voting for. They vote based on popularity, the better sound
I'm glad.
bites.
I'm glad you.
Mm.
I'm glad you said that because I'll be the first to admit. There's no shame in my game. I'll be the first to admit I don't understand what the fuck we're voting for. That's why I don't vote. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Yeah.
none of this shit makes sense to me. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna go there and just vote for two people that I don't know what they're subscribed to. I don't know what their interests are. I don't know nothing. I know this little front that they could put on for the debate for an hour or two or whatever, but that doesn't really educate me on what's going on in front of me. You know what I mean? So I'll be the first to admit, you're right, brother. I
Yeah.
don't know what the fuck be going on with the
So
voting and all that stuff. And quite frankly, it doesn't it doesn't pique any of my interest. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that, like you said, there's a system, and that system is gonna run on its own, whether if I vote or not. Weirdly, ironically, coincidentally, whatever word people want to use, there's going to be an outcome. You know what I'm saying?
so Chris, before we started recording, you were asking me how am I going to navigate, trying to figure out who to vote for when I had
Mhm.
stated that, I didn't know who to choose. So one of the things I want to try to focus on, and it's obviously there's always these debates and the candidates always talk about things that they want to do, and they always tell us something that might sound very appealing to us. But one of the things that I want to do and to help me make a better decision is I want to understand what they're not telling us a little more. So for every benefit that they're giving us, there's always some sort of, in my mind, or I genuinely believe that there's always some hidden agenda behind that, where they're only telling us a partial truth of what sounds good to us. So it seems to me that every time they're giving us something, whether it's coming from the state or the city or from the federal level, there's something else being taken away. And I think a lot of people um, place their votes based off of what's being given, and they don't understand what is at loss, or what's going to be a loss at that. And that's something I want to do a little bit better at digging in, because there's been a lot of times I made a decision on something, and then after the fact I realized, oh wow, I didn't realize that was going away, or I didn't realize that that was going to impact this this part of that part of business and everything. So that's something I want to do, because I feel like we sit here and we listen to the show, and they watch and they tell us the best outcome and the best things that we want to hear, but there's a lot of hidden, um, behind the scenes changes going on that we're not aware of.
Yeah, it is. I really appreciate that answer, and I agree. And that's the opportunity cost, right? And that's why understanding civic responsibility, civic duty is really important, and why we have to teach that more intentionally in schools. Look, it's the voting system, or the legal system, systems in general in this country, and probably in any country you go to, are confusing and complex, and intentionally so. It is designed to make sure that people don't fully understand it. Um, and so yeah, we vote, we make decisions based on sound bites, what sounds most appealing. And we do that, and we just entrust the people. But the reason why I say we got to do better than that is you do that every day. We make these decisions every day. If you go to the doctor's office, for example, you don't look at your doctor's credentials and whole history of this is what they've done, this is what they do. You look at the qualifications, you call someone, they tell you they got their degree from this university. Your insurance accepts, their office accepts that your insurance, and so you trust that they are qualified, you trust that they're capable, and so you go see them and you tell them what ailments you have, and you trust that they can fix it for you. It's very similar to what we do for politicians, right? Where you have people who are presenting before you, they tell you their qualifications, and you entrust that they are qualified to be able to do that. And that's why I say, if we choose the lesser of evils in other areas in our lives when it comes to the voting structure, why can't we apply that same concept? Because we're already applying it. Um, I like you want us to be more informed, right? I do dig. a little into my like, all right, cool. Who's this person I'm going into to tell my medical history? They got my medical records and all of that. Like, do I trust them with some stuff? I'll dig a little, and then that's that. I never go beyond a certain layer of information. Like, once I think I got all I need, I'm good. I move forward. I don't know if this person's a good fucking person. I don't know who they are. I have no idea. But here I am and trusting them with my health. And this is what we do the same shit with our kids. We send our kids to schools. We assume that they're in a good school and that the teacher has the best interest. We're not with them in the classroom, but hey, you know what? They might be doing right by them. And so here we go. And if we don't like what this teacher's doing, we can advocate and get them taken out to another class and to another teacher. And hopefully that other person treats them better. This is our reality. The reality is we vote every single day. Voting is a series of decisions. We make the series of decisions every single day, right? We have barbers on this call. We make decisions. Hey, I'm gonna go to a new barber shop. How am I gonna choose my barber? Maybe I'm gonna sit down, watch how they cut hair. I'm gonna observe for a bit. How do they interact with people? If I think, this person might be the best for me, I'm gonna go there. Or is it whoever's chair is open first, and that's where I go, and then therefore that becomes my barber. Like we have a voting structure that's implemented in our lives. We just don't think about it that way. But if we break it down to lower levels, then that's exactly what we're doing with politicians. And if once we become better at analyzing how we make decisions in our daily lives and why we've made certain decisions, then we can start to condition our kids to do that. Hey, don't just assess the what, analyze the how and the why you made that decision. Then they can grow up to be more informed, so when they're making decisions about things that have more consequences, they're prepared. But a lot of kids who are now voting, and some will be voting for the first time in the next election, aren't conditioned with that sort of mindset of this is how you make decisions. But you've been preparing for this your entire life. You've been making these decisions your entire life. And so it's tough. It's tough because we take these chances because we don't fucking know these people. Absent of you growing up with them, there's some kind of immediate or indirect relationship. You don't know who the fuck these people are. You don't know if they're good people or not. And I think, getting back to an earlier point that Junior said, that's why something like the Epstein files matters. Because we are being told that these are not fucking good people. We are being told that these are people who have abused children, who have violated children, who have stolen their childhood. And these are the people who are making decisions that impact people's daily lives. Like it's a very, very fucked up reality, but this is the reality. And that only changes when we stop relinquishing the power that we have in how we make decisions. Those that don't hear must feel. They got to feel it because they don't fucking hear us. They don't fucking hear us. They heard our ancestors because our ancestors made them feel them. They couldn't just shut them out anymore. They understood it was a literal matter of life and death. They made them feel it. We're not making them feel it the exact same way. And I think we've relinquished too much of that power that we have, that community that we have, because everybody's fragmented, everybody's fractured, everybody wants to do for self. I'm gonna worry about mine, you worry about yours. No, the fuck I'm not. I see your kids doing something, I'm pulling your kid by the ear to your household. Is here. This is what I saw your child doing. Because if I don't do that, your issue shouldn't be with your kid, it should be with me. You saw my kid doing this, you didn't step up. I know, like this is what we've come to, but we have gotten to the point where we don't even allow people to make decisions that better our children, our community. And so how are we supposed to make decisions that impact the larger country? We can't even do that on a smaller scale, and on a larger scale, we're saying, yeah, we can make fuck these people. Fuck them. But we
I
can,
don't think
yeah.
don't think we're ever, and I'll say never find out what's going on in on the inside, what people deserve to know. And my phone is like on 2% before, but I'll say this before I go. Um, Raising my kids, we discipline our kids. And However, the way that we discipline our kids, there's some things that we might want to tell someone and how we discipline them. And there's some things we might not want to tell them.
Hmm.
But that's our own kids. I might tell Larry that, man, I had to ham up my daughter the other day, blah, 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 blah. There might be some things I won't tell him. But when you're in the White House and they're not your kids, they don't give a damn.
Yeah.
They will just say, you know what? Forget them. We ain't telling them nothing. If we're not going to say nothing about our own kids and how we raise them, which we really should, it's no one else's, responsibility but us as parents. But I'm just using that for an example. You know what I mean? We won't tell everyone what we've done to raise our kids, good or bad. So in this cabinet that we have going in America right now, they're not going to tell us nothing. What they
None of the
want.
cabinets have. None
Right.
of the
None of
cabinets
them.
have.
None of them. You're right.
Yeah,
But
right. Yeah.
you know what they do want? You know what they're getting out of this? This, what we're doing right now. This is what they want. They want us to try to figure out and answer the inside of there. And but there's others, probably in Alabama, that have something like this, but it's all white and talking about forget them blacks or Puerto Ricans or Mexicans and stuff like that. And this is what America wants. They want us fighting with each other. That's exactly what they want. Let them fight with each other, and we don't have to tell them anything that we're doing. And that's what I get disgusted at. I said, come on, man. I was born in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, United States. Okay. And I'm not going to sit there and sit here and just have you walk on me. But now we have no choice. And because now we want to know what's going on in our own country, and we can't. I think it's virtually impossible to get what we want to know. I really, unless we're in there and we know the government and we were in the Oval Office, I don't think we're ever gonna know.
Yeah, but we don't need to know all that.
But
That's the thing.
we have to be at least conscious of what they're thinking. Anything.
Oh, I mean, we can tell what they're thinking based on their actions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and I think that's the beauty of it all is I want those people in Alabama that to have conversations like
yeah,
this and they can say
yeah, yeah.
whatever they want. It's the same way we can have conversations like this. But I also want there to be that third and missing layer. I want these groups to then get together to have these conversations so you can see just how similar the realities are. Because when we think about what ended slavery, it wasn't just that, black slaves all of a sudden decided, hey, we're going to revolt, we're going to continue to revolt, and this country is going to have to see us. That's not how it worked. It was black slaves, Native Americans, and poor whites. Those realities were intertwined. Some of the first rebellions, the first 13 slave rebellions in this country were black slaves, Native Americans, and poor whites. The whole idea behind racial hierarchies didn't happen until one of those rebellions went wrong. They were like, hey, we got to separate these folks. We need you to think that you're more like us than them. And if you believe your circumstances might be different, but you're more like us than them, why are you supporting them? You should be supporting us. Don't be with them, be with us. Like, yeah, you're gonna be on the lower, class, but you're not lower than them. You're not
You
lower than
talking about
them.
the Irish?
Any of them. Insert any group of whites you want. Right?
I
There was
think,
a process when the Irish became white and everything else, but
yeah,
Yeah.
that's all of them. But if you sit down with these groups in Alabama, like you take Alabama, we take Louisiana, we take Mississippi, we take Arkansas, we're taking some of the places where they have the lowest educational outcomes in this country. And you're like, what do you want for your kids? Do you want better for your kids? You want better education? Right? You want better economic opportunities, you want better jobs, you want safer communities. You think these folks are gonna say no? That's what the fuck we want too. Those
mm,
things are similar. And then you'll realize, oh shit, we're not that different either. So why isn't your circumstances changing? Oh, the people who are in power, like they're keeping us down. Why, what's up with you? Or the people who are in power are keeping us down. Like there's this connective tissue there, and that connective tissue is power. Like the racial divides are real, but there is a power component that's associated with it. And once we get to the power component, you can see how geography and race and history and context, like all of those things merge. And this is what it's about for this conversation. Like it all boils down to power. Who is in power? Where is power concentrated? And how are they treating those without that power? And then so it has to be us, those who are deemed powerless, to collaborate, to consolidate, to organize, and make them feel it. Until that happens, 50 years from now, going to be another version of this fatherhood group who are going to have these same
Yeah.
conversations.
Yep. Yep. I agree.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was saying by 1 foot forward, 2 steps back. You know what I mean? Because it's
Mhm.
like no matter, even if we do get together and we do come together as a community and we get it right, there's going to be something that's going to set us back
Mhm.
2 steps.
Yeah, of course.
Always.
Well, yeah, that's just the reality, but we're going to have to keep moving forward somehow, one foot in front of the other, man, every day,
Mhm.
every day.
Absolutely. Very, very well said, Chris. I always enjoy the shows and how you put bring your thoughts across and everything. So very well said.
Appreciate you, fellas. I know it's late. I'm gonna let y'all go. Is you want to close us
Yeah.
out? How do we wrap up? I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys wanna say closing remark, Chris, every statement you've made today has been like a powerful closing remark. So I don't know if you want to add another closing remark. Feel free to do so.
Um, like we're gonna get through it. That's I just have to remind people that we haven't been here before, but we've been through situations like this before, and we will get through it because that's all we know how to do. And while it may seem daunting, it is daunting. It's difficult. It's fucking hard. But if we can start to lean on community more, lean on each other more, and we'll realize that we'll be able to overcome this. But we're not going to overcome it alone. We'll fail. So just hold on to that, and I think we'll be all right.
And before we move on to you, Larry, Chris, you mentioned a book. When's that book coming out? I'd love to buy a copy.
September of this year, If Only We Were Brave comes out, which is documenting how to reimagine power, practice, and possibilities in youth legal systems. Essentially, what I'm doing with this book is it's not getting into a whole academic exploration of the data. What I'm saying is we have all of the data, we have all of the information we know to do things better. So why the fuck haven't we done better? It's not because people didn't have the information, it's that they weren't brave and they didn't have the courage to do what was right by the people who needed them the most. And so now is the time for us to be brave and to do better. So I'm really looking forward to completing the writing of the book and sharing it with you all. But definitely for the fatherhood experience, I'll share the draft of the first chapter so y'all can get an early glimpse of it.
Yeah, I can't
Nice.
wait till it comes out. How about you, Larry? Anything closing remarks?
Just my closing remarks that I would say for the people is just educate your kids, not 2 plus 2, not cat, dog, mouse stuff, but just educate your kids on the world that they are going to be living in, the world that we live in now. You know what I mean? Because they are the future. You know what I mean? Our grandkids are the future. Um, so I think it's just important to educate your kids so that they have a strong foundation, strong base, because they're going to go out into the world and the world is going to show them a whole bunch of other stuff that maybe we tried to protect them from or we just didn't want them to know about. But just make sure you give your kids a nice foundation so that they can go out and lead this future the way it needs to be, or at least lead this future that'll keep us thriving for more time, for more years. Um, but yeah, educate your children.
Yeah, and for me, guys, I'm gonna say, yeah, definitely the education. Chris, you mentioned something earlier that kind of stuck with me now, where you said we vote every day, and I started my head started going. I'm like, he's absolutely right. Every day I make a decision, and I make a decision based off of the little information that I know. So with that being said, I'm gonna do a better job at making sure I do cast my votes and make a decision. And on top of that, we just got to make a decision and probably research a little better and dig into the politics a little bit more, because even what I was looking into the last few days to be able to speak a little bit more informatively for this conversation, I started learning some things that were kind of eye-opening to me. And I didn't speak on everything, but it was still eye-opening to me, where it's like, wow, I got to pay better attention to this stuff. So I would say definitely look into that. And for everyone out there, we appreciate your support. Make sure you like and subscribe, share the content, and stay tuned for our next one. Thank you.